Hearing is beneficial to a son who willingly hears. For when what is heard takes root in the hearer, he who has heard will become one worthy himself of being heard. It is good to hear, and it is good to speak, but he who can hear possesses what is advantageous. Hearing is beneficial to the hearer. Hearing is better than everything, for through it, good affection comes into being. In a world full of complexities, diverse perspectives, and an overwhelming amount of information, the quest for truth is more crucial than ever. The ability to be aware of the truth and to remain open to true knowledge is fundamental to both individual growth and the health of society as a whole. In a time when misinformation can spread with alarming speed, the capacity to seek truth and examine information critically is an essential skill. You see, awareness of truth isn't simply a passive state of knowing. It is an active pursuit that requires intellectual curiosity, discernment, and a willingness to challenge our own biases and preconceptions. At the heart of human progress lies the pursuit of truth. You see, throughout history, the ability to distinguish between what is true and what is false has led to significant advancements in science and philosophy and societies. When individuals or societies ignore the truth, they risk stagnation or worse, regression. Those who seek the truth engage in a process of constant learning, refinement, and growth. The scientific method itself is rooted in this principle: hypothesis, experiment, observation, and reevaluation. A society committed to truth is one that values reason, evidence, and integrity, allowing for progress and improvement across all domains of life. Being aware of the truth means not just accepting surface value answers, but striving for a deeper understanding. It involves asking critical questions and refusing to take things at face value. To stay aware of the truth is to embrace the idea that our knowledge is always expanding. To be aware of truth is to engage in constant examination. You see, knowledge cannot be passively absorbed without evaluation. Examining what we know and what we think we know is essential to understanding its validity. The importance of examination lies in its ability to separate facts from opinions, reality from illusions, and reason from emotion. You see, without a rigorous examination of the information we encounter, we run the risk of being misled, manipulated, or deceived. Critical thinking is the tool throughout which this examination takes place. It involves assessing the credibility of the source, questioning assumptions, and considering alternative viewpoints. For example, when we hear a piece of news, we must evaluate the credibility of the source, consider the context, and recognize any potential biases or agendas. You see, this process is especially important in today's digital age where misinformation and fake news can spread rapidly throughout social media platforms. You see, if we do not examine the information we encounter with a discerning eye, we may become explicit in the distortion of that truth. You see, examination requires intellectual courage, the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, challenge one's own biases, and acknowledge the limitation of one's understanding. You see, it is easy to cling to familiar beliefs or to accept what aligns with one's personal views, but this approach hinders growth. True knowledge often forces us to confront difficult questions and reconsider deeply held assumptions. It is through this rigorous process of examination that we develop a more refined and accurate understanding of what we call the world. While examination is crucial, so too is the willingness to remain open to ideas and perspectives. You see, a mind closed to information or contradictory evidence is a mind that stagnates. Recognizing that our knowledge is always partial and incomplete, being open to knowledge requires a willingness to admit that we might be wrong or that our current understanding is limited. You see, openness to truth does not mean accepting every piece of information without scrutiny, but rather being willing to engage with ideas and consider them thoughtfully. You see, it requires a mindset that values learning over certainty. In this sense, truth is not a destination, but it's a journey, a continuous process of exploration and discovery. By remaining open to the possibility that there is always more to learn, we avoid the traps of closed-mindedness. Being open to truth fosters empathy and understanding. It encourages dialogue with others, especially those who hold different perspectives. You see, when we are open to learning from others, we create an environment where collective wisdom can emerge. In contrast, when we refuse to listen to or engage with those who think differently, we isolate ourselves in echo chambers and reinforce our own biases. Awareness of truth, the examination of knowledge, and openness to ideas are fundamental aspects of intellectual growth and collective progress. In a world where misinformation is rampant, it is more important than ever to engage actively with the pursuit of truth. Awareness of truth involves a deep commitment to questioning, learning, and reevaluating what we know. Examination helps us filter through the vast amounts of information we encounter, ensuring that we distinguish truth from falsehood. Openness allows us to remain receptive to insight that challenge our preconceptions and enrich our understanding. To be truly aware of the truth is to embrace the ongoing process of discovery, to engage critically with knowledge, and to remain open to learning from the source. Only by cultivating these habits can we ensure that we remain on a path of intellectual and personal growth. The pursuit of truth is not an easy or quick endeavor, but it is the only path that leads to genuine understanding and progress. Cognitive dissonance is a psychological theory that examines the discomfort or tension individuals experience when they encounter conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes. First introduced by the psychologist Leon Festinger in 1957, cognitive dissonance theory suggests that humans are motivated to achieve internal consistency. When confronted with inconsistencies between their beliefs and actions, they feel psychological discomfort, leading them to seek ways to resolve this inconsistency. The theory has since become one of the cornerstones of social psychology, offering valuable insight into human behavior, decision-making, and attitude change. The term cognitive dissonance refers to the mental state of having two or more contradictory beliefs or attitudes simultaneously. For example, a person may believe that smoking is harmful to their health yet continue to smoke. The tension arising from this contradiction creates dissonance, motivating the person to either change their behavior or rationalize their actions. Cognitive dissonance thus acts as a driving force behind attitude and behavioral change, as individuals seek to reduce the discomfort they experience when their thoughts and actions are not aligned. The central assumption of cognitive dissonance theory is that people are motivated by a need to maintain internal consistency in their thoughts and beliefs. When confronted with contradictory information, they will take steps to reduce the tension, either by changing their beliefs, acquiring new information that supports their behavior, or minimizing the importance of inconsistency. One key aspect of cognitive dissonance is that individuals are more likely to experience this discomfort when they perceive the inconsistency as personally significant. For instance, if someone values health and fitness but regularly engages in unhealthy eating habits, the dissonance may be more obvious because the contradiction directly impacts their sense of identity and well-being. On the other hand, if the issue is less personally relevant, Someone who does not care about environmental issues but engage in behaviors harmful to the environment, the discomfort may be less intense or noticeable. A major factor influencing the intensity of cognitive dissonance is the perceived choice involved in the inconsistency. People are more likely to experience dissonance when they believe that their actions were freely chosen rather than forced. For example, if someone consciously chooses to smoke despite knowing the health risk, the dissonance will likely be more obvious than if they were pressured into smoking. The perception of personal responsibility intensifies the discomfort, leading the individual to take steps to resolve the dissonance. One of the most famous studies demonstrating cognitive dissonance is Fissinger's and Carl Smith's 1959 experiment, which involves participants performing a boring task and then being paid to tell others that the task was enjoyable. Those who were paid only $1 to lie experienced greater dissonance than those paid $20 because the small payment was insufficient to justify the lie. To resolve the dissonance, the participants who were paid $1 were more likely to convince themselves that the task was actually enjoyable. This study highlighted the idea that when external justifications are insufficient, individuals may change their attitude to align with their behavior. Cognitive dissonance theory also plays a crucial role in understanding the process of attitude change. According to the theory, when individuals are presented with information that conflicts with their existing attitudes, they may experience dissonance. To reduce this discomfort, they may change their attitude to align with the new information. For example, a person who has always believed in the effectiveness of a particular brand of toothpaste may be confronted with research showing that a competitor brand is superior. In response to the dissonance, the person might either dismiss the new evidence or alter their attitude to believe that the new brand is just as effective. The role of selective exposure is cognitive dissonance. And another important consideration, individuals are often motivated to seek out information that aligns with their existing beliefs, avoiding information that might create dissonance. This tendency to favor information that confirms one's belief is known as confirmation bias. Cognitive dissonance is not limited to individual decision-making. It also plays a significant role in group dynamics. Social groups, like individuals seeking internal consistency. When group members encounter information that contradicts the group's shared beliefs or values, dissonance can arise within the group. In order to reduce this discomfort, group members may engage in social influence tactics such as peer pressure to bring everyone in line with the dominant viewpoint. In decision-making and attitude change, cognitive dissonance is also relevant to the understanding of self-justification. When individuals engage in behaviors that they later regret or view as morally questionable, they often engage in self-justification to alleviate the dissonance. For instance, a person who cheats on a test may convince themselves that everyone does it, or that the test was unfair in order to reduce the discomfort associated within their actions. This tendency to justify one's actions is a defense mechanism that protects the individual from the psychological distress of acknowledging moral and ethical inconsistency. Another important area in which cognitive dissonance plays a role is in post-decision dissonance, as known as buyer's remorse. After making a significant decision, individuals often experience dissonance as they wonder whether they made the right choice. For example, after purchasing a new car, a person may begin to question whether they made the best decision, especially if they hear about another car that seems to have more features or a lower price. To resolve this dissonance, the individual may focus on the positive aspects of the chosen car, convincing themselves that it was the right decision. The concept of cognitive dissonance is closely related to the idea of self-perception theory, proposed by psychologist Daryl Bem. Self-perception theory suggests that people form attitudes by observing their own behavior and concluding the attitudes that trigger it. While cognitive dissonance focuses on the discomfort caused by inconsistent beliefs and behaviors, self-perception theory suggests that people often change their attitudes based on the behavior they observe in themselves. Both theories address the relationship between attitudes and behaviors, but they offer different explanations for how individuals come to change their beliefs. Cognitive dissonance also plays a significant role in the realm of consumer behavior. Marketers are keenly aware of the power of dissonance and use it to influence purchasing decisions. For example, after a consumer buys a product, marketers may provide additional information that reinforces the consumer's decision, helping to reduce post-purchase dissonance. By making customers feel more confident in their choices, companies can improve customer satisfaction and loyalty. In this way, cognitive dissonance serves as both a motivator and a tool for shaping consumer behavior. Cognitive dissonance can also explain the continuation of beliefs in the face of contrary evidence, a phenomenon known as belief perseverance. Once a person has formed a belief, especially a strongly held one, dissonance can arise when confronted with evidence that contradicts that belief. To resolve this dissonance, individuals may reject or discount the contradictory evidence, leading them to cling more firmly to their original beliefs. For example, a person who holds a strong religious belief may reject scientific evidence that challenges their faith, because accepting such evidence would create dissonance between their beliefs and the new information. In some cases, cognitive dissonance may even result in the creation of false memories. To reduce dissonance, individuals may distort or fabricate memories in ways that align with their current beliefs or actions. For example, a person who regrets a past decision may alter their memory of events to make it seem as though the decision was not as bad as it initially appeared. This phenomenon illustrates the extent to which individuals are motivated to preserve consistency, even if it means altering their perception of reality. The impact of cognitive dissonance on behavior extends to health-related issues as well. Health campaigns such as those aimed at reducing smoking or encouraging exercise can leverage the concept of dissonance to motivate behavior change. By presenting individuals with information that create dissonance between their current health behaviors and their beliefs about health, these campaigns can encourage people to adopt healthier habits in order to reduce the discomfort associated with the inconsistency. Cognitive dissonance is a powerful and persuasive psychological phenomenon that shapes humans' behavior in profound ways. From decision-making and attitude change to moral reasoning and self-justification, the theory provides valuable insight into how individuals manage internal conflicts. While the discomfort caused by dissonance can be a source of psychological tension, it also serves as a motivating force, prompting individuals to seek consistency between their beliefs and action. Debates. Debates are powerful tools for exchange of ideas and the resolution of conflicting viewpoints. When a person's beliefs are challenged, the process of accepting opposing viewpoints becomes fraught with difficulty. People often hold on to their beliefs with intense conviction, especially when those beliefs are essential to their identity. This makes it particularly challenging for them to accept truths that contradict their established views. The resistance to changing one's perspective is influenced by a range of psychological, social, and emotional factors. Understanding these obstacles is crucial for anyone seeking to convince someone to change their mind in a debate. Psychological resistance to change. At the core of the resistance to accepting contrary beliefs is psychological defense mechanisms. Humans have evolved to defend their perception of reality as a means of protecting their psychological well being. As previously stated, cognitive dissonance theory explains how, when individuals encounter information that contradicts their beliefs, they experience discomfort. To reduce this discomfort, they often reject or distort the new information rather than change their viewpoint. This defense mechanism helps preserve their current worldview, but inhibits intellectual growth. The need for consistency. Another psychological aspect of this resistance is the need for cognitive consistency. People tend to gravitate toward information that aligns with their pre-existing beliefs, a phenomenon known as confirmation bias. Once an individual has formed an opinion on a subject, they are more likely to seek out information that confirms their views and ignore the discredit information that challenges them. This behavior helps maintain a cognitive sense of self and worldview, but it also stifles open-mindedness and a willingness to retain alternate perspectives. Beliefs are not always based solely on logic. They are often tied to emotions and personal experiences. For many individuals, certain beliefs form the bedrock of their identity. These beliefs may be linked to their upbringing, culture, religion, or personal history, and challenging them can feel like a personal attack. This emotional attachment can lead to an almost visceral reaction when confronted with contradictory information. For example, a person may feel threatened or anxious or angry when their deeply held beliefs are questioned, further entrenching their resistance to change. Humans are inherently social creatures, and beliefs often align with group identity. A person's views may be shaped by the communities they belong to. In these groups, beliefs are reinforced through social interactions and shared narratives. To accept a truth that contradicts these beliefs will not only disrupt their personal identity, but could also lead to social exclusion or alienation. As a result, individuals are often more inclined to defend their beliefs against external challenges in order to maintain their social standing and sense of belonging. In many cases, people trust and defer to authority figures who validate their beliefs. These figures can range from religious leaders to political ones to experts or even family members. When authority figures endorse a particular viewpoint, it further entrenches an individual's belief system. To accept an alternative viewpoint would mean rejecting not only their own perspective, but also the authority that has shaped it. As a result, challenging these beliefs can feel like a betrayal or trust or loss of guidance. Another key factor in unwillingness to accept contradictory information is the fear of uncertainty. People tend to gravitate toward certainty and stability, as uncertainty can lead to anxiety. Beliefs offer a sense of structure and predictability in an otherwise chaotic world. If a person were to entertain a belief that contradicts their current worldview, it could lead to discomfort. This fear of the unknown can create a powerful hindrance to question or change long-term beliefs. The fear of uncertainty is a deeply ingrained psychological response that stems from humans' essential desire or stability and predictability. People thrive in environments where they can anticipate what will happen next, and this sense of control allows them to feel safe. When confronted with conflicting information or ideas that challenge their beliefs, it often introduces a level of unpredictability that can be deeply unsettling. The discomfort of uncertainty can cause anxiety, leading individuals to cling to their existing worldview as a way of restoring psychological equilibrium. Uncertainty in the face of contradictory information can trigger a cascade of unsettling emotions. Individuals may fear that accepting an opposing viewpoint will lead them down a path of confusion or chaos, disabling the structured life they have built around their beliefs. For example, someone who holds a religious belief may fear that entertaining a contradictory argument might unravel their entire spiritual framework, creating a profound sense of loss. This fear of the unknown often creates a mental barrier to change as individuals prefer to stay within the comfort of the familiar, even if it means continuing to hold on to beliefs that may no longer serve them. When faced with the prospect of adjusting one's worldview, the uncertainty about what new beliefs may mean for the person's identity, relationships, or life trajectory can feel overwhelming. As a result, individuals are more likely to resist questioning their beliefs, even when presented with solid evidence to the contrary, simply because it's less mentally taxing to stay in a state of certainty, even if that certainty is built on falsehood or outdated premises. Uncertainty not only produces anxiety, but can also activate cognitive biases, like the need for closure, where individuals feel compelled to arrive at a definite conclusion as quickly as possible. This bias encourages people to avoid uncertainty, resist open-ended questions, and seek closure by dismissing any information that doesn't fit nearly into their existing framework. In debates, this need for closure makes it difficult for a person to entertain new perspectives because the uncertainty they bring feels like an uncomfortable interruption to the need for cognitive closure. Personal experiences plays a significant role in shaping an individual's beliefs. When a person has lived through certain experiences that validate their viewpoint, it becomes much harder for them to accept a contradictory truth. Human beings are not purely rational beings, rather shaped by the increasing weight of life experiences. These experiences provide a lens through which interpret the world, and they often solidify beliefs that feel deeply rooted in personal history. This connection between belief and experience makes it especially challenging for people to accept contradictory information, as it feels like an assault on their own lived reality. When someone's beliefs are rooted in personal experiences, they are often less likely to view opposing viewpoints as credible or relevant. For example, someone who has had negative interactions with a particular ethnic group or community may develop stereotypes or prejudices based on those experiences. If they are then presented with an opposing perspective that challenges their prejudice, their first instinct may be to reject it outright. This is because the new information conflicts not just with the abstract beliefs, but with their actual experiences, which are perceived as more authentic or truthful than any external argument. Personal experiences are often reinforced by the people we interact with, further entrenching our beliefs. This is particularly evident in the social context of groupthink, where individuals share common experiences with like-minded people. These shared experiences can create echo chambers in which individuals feel that their experiences are universally true, making contradictory viewpoints even harder to accept. When an individual encounters someone from a different group who challenges their beliefs, They may dismiss that person's perspective as invalid or simply a result of different, less credible experiences. The subjective nature of personal experience also means that people tend to interpret contradictory information through their own lens. This means that even when someone is confronted with compelling evidence that challenges their beliefs, they might reinterpret that information in a way that fits their prior experience. For example, a person who has had negative experience with a specific culture may be influenced by uncertain or neutral information about that group in a negative light, reinforcing their existing bias. Because personal experiences are emotionally charged, they can also make debates feel more like personal attacks. When someone's experience and beliefs are challenged, it can feel like a threat to their sense of self and identity. For instance, someone who has been a strong prominent of a certain ideology may feel personally offended if their core beliefs are questioned. This emotional reaction may lead them to become defensive, dismissive, or combative, further hindering productive dialogue and making it even more difficult for them to accept contradictory truths. In the modern era, media plays a critical role in shaping public opinion. With the advent of social media, individuals can now surround themselves with like-minded people and consume information that reinforces their beliefs. These echo chambers create a feedback loop where individuals are continually exposed to viewpoints that support their opinions and shielded from contradictory information. This environment makes it even more difficult for individuals to consider alternative perspectives, as they are rarely exposed to them in the first place. The challenge of dismissing new information is rooted in cognitive processes that prioritize mental efficiency and minimize cognitive load. Humans naturally seek cognitive ease, ways of thinking and processing information that requires less mental effort. When an individual encounters new information that contradicts their long-held beliefs, the effort required to critically evaluate this new data and integrate it into their existing mental framework can feel burdensome. In such situations, many individuals will opt to dismiss the new information or rely on more simplistic, familiar explanations that align with their current worldview. This tendency is both a psychological and cognitive response to the challenges posed by new, complex, or conflicting ideas. When people are confronted with information that challenges their established beliefs, they are often faced with the uncomfortable task of reconsidering their viewpoint. This reevaluation involves mental processes such as comparison, analysis, and the integration of new information into their existing cognitive structure. For many, this task is not only time consuming, but also emotionally taxing. Questioning or revising long-held beliefs can lead to a feeling of uncertainty, confusion, or even guilt. Since human beings tend to gravitate towards certainty and stability, encountering contradictory information forces them to confront uncertainty and cognitive dissonance, both of which are uncomfortable psychological states. An individual may also rely on mental shortcuts that help people make quick judgments without extensive discussion. When faced with contradictory information, for instance, they may dismiss new information as biased or untrustworthy without critically evaluating its evidence. This tendency to rely on experimentation is an adaptive response to cognitive overload, as it allows individuals to make decisions quickly in a world where they are constantly bombarded with information. However, while experimentation may serve the purpose of saving cognitive energy in many everyday situations, they can also prevent individuals from engaging in more thoughtful and reflective processing when it comes to complex, challenging ideas. People tend to overestimate their own knowledge and understanding of a topic, leading them to dismiss new information as unnecessary or irrelevant. This phenomenon, known as the illusion of knowledge, can make it difficult for individuals to accept contradictory information, as they believe they already possess a complete and accurate understanding of the issue at hand. When new information challenges this perceived knowledge, it forces individuals to confront the possibility that they may have been wrong or incomplete in their understanding, which can be disorienting and uncomfortable experience. To avoid this discomfort, people may resist engaging with new information altogether. Confirmation bias is one of the most persistent cognitive biases that influence human beings, particularly during debates. It refers to the tendency of individuals to favor information that confirms their pre-existing beliefs, attitudes, or assumptions, while disregarding or minimizing evidence that contradicts them. This bias is deeply integrated in human perception, as it offers a way to maintain psychological consistency and avoid the discomfort that arises from cognitive dissonance. The mental tension experienced within conflicting ideas are held simultaneously. In debates, confirmation bias is especially pronounced, as individuals often enter these discussions with the goal of reinforcing their own viewpoints rather than genuinely exploring different perspectives. This selective processing of information means that people are more likely to pay attention to, interpret, and remember facts or arguments that support their beliefs, while ignoring or devaluing any evidence that challenges their position. This selective attention creates an echo chamber effect, where the person's beliefs are continuously reinforced and validated, making it even harder to accept opposing viewpoints. The most dangerous aspect of confirmation bias is that it operates at an unconscious level. People often believe that they are engaging with all relevant evidence in an unbiased manner, yet they are unknowingly gravitating towards information that aligns with their preferences. This selective exposure can take various forms, such as reading articles, watching videos, or following social media accounts that share similar opinions. As a result, individuals can become increasingly entrenched in their beliefs, forming a cycle in which only information that supports their views is sought and internalized, while contradictory evidence is ignored or discredited. The confirmation bias is also evident in the way individuals evaluate evidence. In a debate, people are likely to accept weak evidence that support their beliefs while scrutinizing or dismissing stronger evidence that contradicts them. A person might accept a hearsay story or a piece of unverified data if it aligns with their viewpoint, but they may reject well-researched studies or expert opinions if they conflict with their position. This selective evaluation of evidence ensures that the individual's beliefs remain unchallenged, reinforcing their conviction and undermining the potential for rational debate. One of the more problematic consequences of confirmation bias in debates is the creation of polarized echo chambers. When individuals only expose themselves to information that align with their views, they often become more extreme in their opinions. Social media platforms and online forums exacerbate this issue by allowing people to self select information that supports their perspective. Algorithms that prioritize content based on past engagement further traps individuals in religious silos, limiting their exposure to diverse viewpoints. As a result, individuals may become more rigid in their beliefs, less willing to engage in productive conversations, and more hostile towards those with opposing views. This polarization not only hinders meaningful dialogue, but can also fuel political or social divisions, as each side becomes further entrenched in its own narrative. The persistence of confirmation bias also means that individuals may fail to update their beliefs, even in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Once a belief becomes strongly entrenched, the brain's need for cognitive consistency increases, leading to the rejection of discomforting information with greater intensity. This phenomenon is known as belief perseverance, where individuals continue to hold on to their beliefs even when faced with facts that contradict them. Confirmation bias plays a critical role in belief perseverance as it actively works to shield those beliefs from the disorienting effects of new, conflicting information. This makes it particularly difficult to change someone's mind in a debate, especially when their convictions are rooted in strong emotions are identified. In the context of debates, confirmation bias can manifest in the form of motivated reasoning, where individuals engage in reasoning that is driven by a desire to reach a conclusion that supports their beliefs rather than an objective evaluation of the evidence. For example, when confronted with conflicting evidence, people with strong biases may look for flaws in the studies that contradict their views while readily accepting studies that support their position, regardless of their quality. Motivated reasoning makes it challenging for individuals to engage in unbiased or objective thinking, further entrenching them in their views. The illusion of understanding is a cognitive phenomenon where individuals believe they have a complete or accurate grasp of a complex issue, even though their understanding may be superficial or incomplete. This overconfidence in one's own knowledge can be particularly problematic in debates, as it often leads to the dismissal of opposing viewpoints without fully considering them. When individuals hold this illusion, they tend to feel certain that their perspective is the only valid one, which can be a significant barrier to accepting new contradictory information. This false sense of certainty can prevent meaningful dialogue, as people may not be open to critically evaluating alternative ideas or acknowledging the limits of their understanding. Overconfidence in one's knowledge is well documented cognitive bias, known as the overconfidence effect. It leads people to overestimate their understanding of a subject, often because they are familiar with some aspects of it, even if they have little expertise or understanding of the issue as a whole. For example, an individual may have read a few articles on a particular subject, watched a few documentaries, or listened to a podcast, and as a result, they may believe they fully understand the issue. This partial knowledge can give rise to the belief that their perspective is well informed and definitive, making them more resistant to new information that challenges their views. This illusion of understanding also plays a role in the way people approach complex topics. Many debates involve nuanced, complex issues that require deep analysis, and individuals often lack the time or willingness to engage with these complexities. Instead, they may rely on oversimplified narratives or popularized viewpoints that align with their pre existing beliefs. This shortcut in thinking gives them a false sense of having fully grasped the topic at hand. While they may not have explored the full range of arguments or evidence because they feel they already know enough, they are less likely to explore contradictory viewpoints or entertain the possibility that their understanding could be incomplete. In debates, individuals with this illusion may feel the need to defend their beliefs with intensity, using selective or incomplete evidence to support their argument. They may dismiss new evidence, counterarguments, or expertise as unnecessary or irrelevant because they believe they already possess the truth. This overconfidence can lead to a closed minded approach, where the person is more focused on defending their stance than on engaging with the complexity of the issue. As a result, they may not even fully consider the possibility that they are wrong or that their understanding is limited. The illusion of understanding is also linked to the Dunning-Kruger effect, a cognitive bias in which people with low levels of knowledge or competence in a particular area overestimate their abilities. This effect can make it particularly difficult for individuals to recognize when they lack sufficient understanding. For example, someone with minimal knowledge of a scientific subject may confidently argue against well-established scientific consensus because they believe their understanding is just as valid or more accurate than the research conducted by experts. This can be particularly dangerous in public debates where misinformation can spread when people with the illusion of understanding feel encouraged to challenge authoritative sources without recognizing their own limitations. The root cause of the illusion of understanding lies in cognitive laziness and the desire for certainty. A person who has invested minimal effort into researching or analyzing a complex issue may feel a psychological need to act as though they understand it fully, as this provides them with the comfort or certainty. This desire to avoid doubt can make it easier to hold on to the simplified explanations or ideologies that align with one's pre-existing views. Confronted with new contradictory information, individuals may reject it outright because it threatens their sense of security in their current understanding. The illusion of understanding can also be fueled by the human tendency to remember only the information that supports their beliefs and forget or ignore information that contradicts them. This selective memory, known as motivated reasoning, ensures that people maintain their sense of certainty even when faced with evidence to the contrary. For example, someone who believes in a particular conspiracy theory may selectively remember events or details that support their theory, while disregarding well-documented facts or experts' opinions that debunk it. This tendency to filter information through the lens of one's beliefs further solidifies the illusion of understanding. To overcome the illusion of understanding, individuals must cultivate intellectual humility, the ability to acknowledge the limitation of one's knowledge and be open to the possibility that one's understanding may be incomplete or flawed. This involves recognizing that knowledge is often complex and that no one person can have a complete understanding of every issue. Intellectual humility allows individuals to approach debates with an openness to learning rather than with the defensiveness that often accompanies overconfidence. It encourages them to listen to others, consider alternative viewpoints, and engaging with new evidence in a more objective and thoughtful manner. An essential step in overcoming the illusion of understanding is developing a willingness to engage in continuous learning. This means not only seeking out information that supports one's beliefs, but also actively exploring contradictory viewpoints and challenging assumptions. A person who is committed to learning is more likely to admit when they don't know something or when their understanding needs to be re-advised. This approach fosters a mindset that values intellectual growth and curiosity over the need to appear knowledgeable or right. Humility in debates requires individuals to recognize that expertise matters. In complex subjects, experts' knowledge and extensive research carry significant weight, and acknowledging the authority of those who have dedicated years to studying a particular field can help prevent the illusion of understanding from taking hold. Individuals should learn to respect the opinions of experts and consider the evidence they present, even when it challenges their beliefs. Fostering a culture of inquiry rather than certainty can help individuals move past the illusion of understanding. In debates, people should be encouraged to ask questions, explore different perspectives, and engage in dialogue that prioritize the search for truth over the defense of a preconceived notion. This can be achieved by creating a space where curiosity, open-mindedness, and willingness to learn are valued more than winning an argument or proving oneself right. Rhetoric. The art of persuasion plays a crucial role in shaping opinions, influencing beliefs, and guiding individuals' decisions in debates and discussions. Skilled debaters, speakers, and influencers often use rhetorical techniques not only to make their argument more compelling, but to shape the emotions, attitudes, and values of their audience. While rhetoric can be a powerful tool for advancing well-supported logical arguments, it can also be manipulated to create emotional resonance and reinforce pre-existing beliefs. This can be particularly dangerous in debates where the aim is to convince others of a particular viewpoint, as persuasive rhetoric may sway an audience despite the absence of strong factual support or logical coherence. One of the most prominent ways rhetoric influences belief formation is through emotional appeals. Humans are deeply emotional beings, and emotions often guide decision-making more than rational thought. Skilled people who use rhetoric understand that appealing to emotions such as fear, anger, empathy, or pride can be far more persuasive than presenting cold, hard facts. Emotional appeal creates a sense of urgency, importance, or personal connection that can override the intellectual analysis of an argument. For instance, in a debate, a speaker may use emotionally charged language to create fear or outrage over a particular issue, thus bypassing logical reasoning and fostering a sense of shared urgency. This emotional connection to the argument can reinforce pre-existing beliefs or biases, making it more difficult for individuals to accept contradictory perspectives. In a debate, emotional appeals are often used to rally support for causes, even when the argument themselves may be weak or unsupported by evidence. When individuals are emotionally invested in a particular issue or position, they are less likely to critically evaluate the claims being made and more likely to accept arguments that align with their emotional responses. For example, one might use fear tactics to persuade people that a certain policy is necessary for security, even though the actual evidence does not support the claim. The audience, swept up in the emotional intensity of the message, may overlook the lack of substantial proof and instead reinforce their existing beliefs based on the emotional impact of the rhetoric. The emotional appeal skilled Debaters often rely on logical misconceptions, flawed or deceptive arguments that can mislead an audience into accepting a conclusion without critically analyzing it. Logical misconceptions, while not grounded in truth, can be highly persuasive because they exploit common cognitive biases or manipulative strategies that resonate with people's emotions or preconceptions. Some common examples of logical misconceptions used in debates include ad hominem attacks, attacking the character of the opponent rather than addressing the argument; straw man arguments, misrepresenting the opponent's position in order to more easily attack it; appeals to authority, relying on the opinion of an authority figure without providing solid evidence. These rhetorical tricks are often effective because they simplify complex issues and make the audience feel as though they are making a rational decision, even when the argument is logically flawed. The rhetorical flourishes, such as the use of metaphors and repetition, can also strengthen an argument, emotional appeal, and reinforce an individual's pre-existing beliefs. For example, a metaphor that compares an opposing figure to a villain in a story may help to frame them in a negative light, invoking the audience's emotional reaction to the metaphor rather than a critical evaluation of the individual's actions. Similarly, the repetition of key phrases, slogans, or catchwords can create a sense of familiarity and certainty, making an argument appear more credible and appealing. The rhetorical technique are designed to bypass the critical thinking process of the audience, focusing instead on creating a powerful emotional response and strengthening the speaker's position. Rhetoric often appeals to the audience's social identity, the sense of belonging to a particular group, community, or ideology. By framing a debate in the terms of group identity, a speaker can influence individuals to adopt a particular belief or action because it aligns with the norms, values, or beliefs of the group they identify with. The social influence can be incredibly potent, as people often seek validation and approval from their social groups. When a belief is framed as essential to a group membership, individuals are more likely to defend it, even when confronted with opposing evidence. The power of rhetoric is also closely tied to the authority of the speaker. In debates, audiences tend to trust those they perceive as credible or authoritative figures. The credibility of a speaker can influence how persuasive their argument is, even if their logic is weak or their fact is inaccurate. When a person with authority, whether that authority comes from experience, expertise, or social status, makes a claim, people are more likely to accept it as truth without questioning it. This is particularly evident in debates involving political figures, celebrities, or experts who are seen as reliable sources. People are often more inclined to trust what these figures say, not because of the merit of the argument, but because of their perceived authority, which can limit crucial engagement and reinforce pre-existing beliefs. Framing plays a significant role in how rhetoric influences debate and belief information. Framing refers to the way information is presented or packaged to highlight certain aspects of an issue while downplaying others. By framing a particular issue in a specific light, speakers can manipulate how it is perceived by the audience. By carefully selecting which aspect of an issue to emphasize and which to ignore, the speaker can shape the audience's perception and make the argument more emotionally compelling. The way a speaker frames an argument has the power to shift the focus of a debate and strengthen the resonance of their message, regardless of whether or not the underlying facts are supported. Empathy and respect are essential. People are more likely to change their beliefs when they feel understood and respected, rather than when they feel attacked or dismissed. Engaging in a debate with the intention of genuinely understanding the other person's perspective fosters an environment where mutual respect can lead to greater openness. Empathy allows one to acknowledge the emotional and psychological factors that shape a person's beliefs, creating a space where new ideas can be considered without triggering a defensiveness. Trust plays a crucial role in convincing someone to reconsider their beliefs. If the person feels that the speaker is trustworthy and has their best interests at heart, they are more likely to listen to alternative perspectives. Trust can be built through shared values, a genuine concern for the individual's well being, and a demonstrated willingness to engage in respectful dialogue. Without trust, any attempt to persuade someone will likely fall on deaf ears, as the individual will be skeptical of the motivations behind the argument. Convincing someone to accept a truth that contradicts their beliefs is a complex and challenging process. The difficulty lies in the psychological, emotional, social, and cognitive barriers that prevent individuals from changing their viewpoints. However, through an empathy, trust, and open dialogue, it is possible to overcome these obstacles. By presenting information, fostering cognitive dissonance, and engaging with the person in a respectful and understanding manner, it is possible to help them reconsider their beliefs. Ultimately, the key to convincing someone lies not in winning a debate, but in creating an environment where they feel safe enough to question their assumptions and explore new truths.